Okay, so we all think a kid's world is shaped by things like parents, school, their friends, right? But what if I told you the single biggest influence on their lives is something we see every single day but never really notice? We're going to dive into a university lecture that pulls back the curtain on how the very design of our cities, our streets, our parks, our neighborhoods is literally building our kids' world. Just for a second, I want you to think back to when you were a kid. How far could you go on your own? Was your whole world just your front yard? Could you explore the entire block? Or maybe you had the freedom to roam the entire neighborhood? Whatever your answer is, hold on to that thought. That invisible line you weren't supposed to cross, well, that's at the absolute heart of everything we're about to talk about. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at why a kid's world today is actually shrinking. Then, we'll get into the real culprit behind it. And it's probably not what you're thinking. After that, we'll open up the design toolkit to see how we can fix it, check out the incredible payoff when we do, and finally, we'll learn how to see our own neighborhoods through a totally new lens. So here's the core issue, plain and simple. Over the past couple of generations, the freedom kids have to just go out and explore on their own has completely nosedived. They're spending way less time playing outside, and those boundaries we were just thinking about, they've gotten smaller and smaller. And look, this isn't just us getting nostalgic for the good old days. Not at all. This decline in outdoor freedom has become a serious public health issue. We're talking a direct, scientifically proven link to major problems like the rise in childhood obesity. When kids don't have the freedom to move, their health is what pays the price. So why is this happening? It's really easy to point fingers at technology or say parenting has just changed. But this lecture makes a powerful case that we need to look at something much bigger. The real root of the problem might actually be the physical world around us, the way our cities are literally built. And these right here, these are the hidden architects of childhood. These are the things we never think about, right? The way a neighborhood is laid out, how wide the streets are, even boring stuff like zoning policies. All of it has this huge direct impact on a kid's health, who their friends are, and how much freedom they have. And this isn't just a wild guess. There's a whole field of study dedicated to it called environmental behavior. It's all about that critical link between the places we're in and how we act. For kids, that link is extra strong. The design of a park or a street is basically whispering to them, telling them if it's a place to run and play or a place to be careful and stay close to an adult. Now, here's the good news. We don't have to just accept this. We actually have the tools to fix it. Urban planners can use some really cool psychological ideas to build better, more kid-friendly neighborhoods on purpose. Let's pop open this toolkit and take a look at a couple of them. Okay, first up is a concept called Gibson's affordance. It sounds complicated, but it's brilliant in its simplicity. It just means that objects and spaces kind of suggest what you can do with them. So a low, wide wall isn't just a wall. It affords sitting, it affords balancing, it affords jumping off of. A city designed for kids is just packed with these kinds of positive affordances. All right, tool number 2 is the idea of a behavior setting. This is where the physical design of a place combines with the unspoken social rules to nudge us towards certain behaviors. A busy 4-lane road, for instance, is a behavior setting that screams caution. But a quiet park with a playground, that's a behavior setting that screams play. So if we put these tools to use, where do we even begin? Well, get this. What if I told you that one of the absolute best designs for encouraging kids to play outside is something that, for years, many city planners thought was a mistake? Yep, I'm talking about the good old cul-de-sac, the dead end. By design, it slashes the amount of car traffic, and in doing so, it creates a whole new behavior setting, one that's perfect for play. It basically becomes a shared front yard for the whole street. The lecturer had even pointed to places like Mirpur DOHS as a real-world example where this super simple design helps kids play more freely. Okay, so what happens when we really commit to these ideas? What's the payoff? Well, it's massive. This isn't just about making neighborhoods look a little nicer. This is about raising healthier kids and, honestly, building much stronger communities from the ground up. And the data backs this up completely. It's a crystal clear picture. You can draw a straight line from neighborhoods with high walkability to lower public health costs, and another straight line from more outdoor activity to reduced obesity rates. The bottom line is, good urban design is basically a form of preventative medicine. It's that powerful. But here's a super important point. The actual statistical safety of a place isn't the whole story. What really matters is a parent's perception of safety. That's the key that unlocks the door. If a parent looks out their window and feels like the street is unsafe, their kid is not going out to play. End of story. So we have to design for that feeling of safety too. And focusing on that feeling of safety reveals a really big issue around fairness. Studies show there's this huge gap in how much freedom we give boys versus girls. Boys consistently get more time to be independent and roam farther from home, while girls are given way less. So a truly child-friendly city has to be a city that feels safe for every child, and that means closing this gap. So what does a solution look like on the ground? Well, here's a totally brilliant one. The walking school bus. It's so simple. A couple of parents volunteer to be the drivers, they map out a safe route to school, and then they just walk, picking up neighborhood kids along the way. Sometimes you even have a designated crossing guard, a lollipop lady, at the busy intersections. It gets kids active, it builds community, and it massively boosts that feeling of safety. Okay, so we've seen the problem and we've looked at some solutions. The last piece of the puzzle is figuring out how we can start to see our own world differently. How can we learn to look at our own neighborhood not as an adult, but through the eyes of a child? Well, it turns out that all the urban planners, architects, and city officials in the world aren't the real experts here. To truly get what's working and what's not for kids in a neighborhood, you have to go straight to the source. And they do this with an amazing research method called a child-led field trip. It's exactly what it sounds like. Instead of adults being in charge, the kids become the tour guides. They show the researchers their world, the secret shortcut, the wall that's perfect for balancing, the creepy alley to avoid. The insights you get from this are things an adult would never, ever see on their own. And that brings us to one final thought to leave you with. Later today, when you walk down your own street, I want you to try and see it through the eyes of an 8-year-old. What part of it looks fun? What part looks scary? What's just boring? If you could give a kid a magic wand and tell them to redesign your street, what do you think is the very first thing they would change? The answer might just blow you away.